On the moors, not far from Rochdale, is the tiny village of Cheesden. And if you leave the main road that runs past the few remaining houses and follow the footpath alongside a quiet stream, it will lead you to the ruined shell of an old mill. Long since deserted, the murmur of the stream and its little waterfall echoes about the walls and through the empty windows, and we find it difficult to imagine it as a place of industry, the heart of what must have once been a thriving community. But as we retrace our steps along the path that must have been trodden by the workfolk, we reach the few remaining houses of Cheesden, and our thoughts turn to the neighbouring village, which also faces a fight for survival. Standing on the edge of Scoutmoor, Tern Village is a small community with a school, a pub, a shop, a few farms that scratch a living from the rocky soil, and a couple of rows of houses, one of which that leads you down to a mill. To the casual visitor, the village would seem nothing out of the ordinary, and he would not sense the air of anxiety that hung over the place, for the fateful decision had been made, and the mill that had provided employment for over a century was to close. In an age of the shrinking cotton industry, this occurrence is commonplace, but to a small village such as Tern, it takes on a special significance. Can the village survive? The question as yet remains unanswered, but perhaps part of the answer lies in the school. Long threatened with closure, this has now become definite, and the children are to be transferred elsewhere, with perhaps one or even two bus rides for the very youngest. To the women folk of the village, this could be as lethal as the loss of the mill, and could well be the deciding factor in this fight for survival. In the mill, only Mr. Holmes the firebeater and Mr. Higson the manager remained to see to the winding up of its affairs. Mr. Higson had spent his working life at this mill, as did his father before him, and it was easy to sense the affection he held for the machinery that had been in his care for so long, some of which had been in continuous use for almost 100 years. In the spinning room, all is quiet, and the pale April sunlight falls on the ranks of bobbins, almost as if they were on parade to mourn the passing of another era. Many years ago, the Tern villagers had other sources of employment, and a tall chimney still overlooks the site of Tern Weaving Mill that ceased production long before the Second World War. Also, if one takes a path past this mill to leave the village lying well below, a long hard climb will lead you to the remains of a quarry. In the days of sets, cobblestones and flagstones, the menfolk could find employment here, but like the weaving mill, this too had to close, to leave but the spinning mill as the last bastion in the fight for survival. The road away from the village takes you past the quarry stone crusher, behind which is the remains of an old wagon. If we were to push it back up the hillside, we could have waited. No, I don't think so. For the tide of time cannot be turned, and the newborn is always there to replace the dead with new and fresh ideas. And so with this thought in mind, perhaps Tern Village will survive after all.